There are challenges that you must intentionally address if you want to create a life that brings you more joy, more balance, more peace, and more freedom. One of the most common emotions that people struggle with is self-doubt. No one is immune to self-doubt. At some point along your journey, you have encountered self-doubt. Even as you strengthen your healing journey, you might have moments of self-doubt. So no one's immune. I mean, just the other day, this is a very small example. I was at the American grocery store, I have to preface American, and I was just trying to get some tea. And I go in the tea aisle and there's like 100 teas. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why is there so many teas for like everything? Some people that be like, oh, I have options. For other people, I'm like, yo, there's way too many teas here. And so after spending 15 minutes in the aisle, I finally make a decision. And then I'm like, wait, did I make the right decision? Well, what about this? And then I just start doubting my decisions. And so this is a smaller scale, but I say this to say that the world is designed to have you second guessing yourself. The world is designed to create self-doubt within yourself. So as much as I want you to take, responsibility and accountability, understand what you're working with. You're working with a paradigm that's been created to keep you at a certain vibrational frequency. And so as a result, if you do not have a solid sense of self and a solid sense of self-worth, you're going to find yourself constantly questioning your decisions, constantly questioning yourself. So if you're watching this video, then you're already starting the process of dealing with some of those insecurities so you can get a handle of it so that you can actually move forward. So this video is going to be all about self-doubt. Somebody from my newsletter community asked that I address this. So I love when you guys send questions because then it helps me to sort of tailor content to you versus what I think that some people might be, struggling with based on the clients that I see. As you pull from our own personal experiences and put all this stuff together. But it's really nice to have a direct question like, hey, how do I move past my self-doubts? This is what we're going to talk about here on the Monday message. We're going to discuss how to work through your self-doubts so that in the end, you can create a life that you are proud of, a life that has forward momentum, because it's in the momentum that we can feel a lot of that joy. But most importantly, you want to create a life that you feel good about, a life that has you accepting all parts of yourself, and a life that you feel so much joy for being who you are. So welcome to the Monday message. These are just bite-sized nuggets for you to begin to create momentum in your life, for you to think deeper and to challenge yourself in ways that maybe you haven't been challenged before. So what I'm going to help you to do in this video is to help you understand the source of your self-doubt. We have to know where it comes from. I'm also going to provide you with some self-reflection questions so that you can dig on your own a bit deeper. Then I'll show you how you can challenge some of those negative thoughts. This is a strategy that I taught my students a long time ago when I was working with young folks that now I teach adults, and it's really super helpful. So wait towards the end for that. And then lastly, you're going to really, throughout this whole process, just by tapping into this video, you're going to begin to shift your perspective about what it means to be sort of in this sea of self-doubt, because a powerful reframe can literally powerfully change your life. So you're not going to want to miss this video. Come with an open heart, as always, and an open mind. Self-doubt is an alarm that needs your attention. So when you start to feel it, often our first line of defense is to really get down on ourselves and berate ourselves, but really use this as an opportunity to gain feedback into, okay, what part of my life needs a bit of nurturing? So self-doubt can do three things. It could have you on a downward spiral of comparison trap. We've all been there, where you're comparing yourself to other people that you somehow believe are just doing much better than you are. Like they just got it all together. I find that just to be not necessarily true, because we don't know what silent battles people are battling. The second thing that it might take you through is the perfectionist mindset. The idea that nothing you do is good enough. The idea that who you are isn't good enough. And you get really caught up in that negative, what I call a distorted sense of self, in which that you believe your self-worth isn't there, or you find yourself in this constant state of emptiness that no matter what you fill yourself with, you still feel empty. No matter what you surround yourself with, you still feel empty. I did a video about how to stop caring about what other people think. So I will link that at the end. And that should really start to help you think about that whole concept quite differently. The third thing that it does is it gets you into the mindset of should have, could have. What do I mean by that? Could have been somebody else. I could have been in a different lifetime. I could have had different parents. I could have had different experiences. Or you find yourself wishing that you should have done something else. I should have done this. I should have done that. And all this does is really entangle you in regrets. And living in regrets is not fun, right? Because when you're constantly in regret mode, you find yourself just constantly living in the past. And when you're living in the past, it's distracting you from living in the present, and it's distracting you from moving forward. So we don't want that. We want to definitely tackle some of this stuff and face it head on. It's so important to begin to work on self-doubt, because what it does is at the minute that you have self-doubt in one area of your life, it begins to leak into several other areas of your life. And you find yourself doubting your life choices. You find yourself doubting the relationships that you're in. You might even be as small as doubting just day-to-day tasks, like doubting the way that you drive or the way that you cook. You find yourself in that mind frame constantly. It could be something as big as, should I leave my job, or this relationship, or like I said. So self-doubt really gets you into this debilitating mindset in which that you find yourself constantly doubting everything that you do, to the point where you start to doubt your own existence. When I find myself doubting myself, it can be really debilitating because it makes it hard for me to make decisions. And I've really had to work past that in various different ways. Lots of self-work, healing, therapy, coaching, spirituality. And also I had to rework a lot of stories, old stories that I trapped myself in that weren't really true. And what I realized over time is that the more that I was stuck in this self-doubt, the further I was from my purpose and the further I was from answering the call that was calling me. I usually constantly have to check myself and remind myself, like, this is the matrix programming. And what do I mean by that? We're programmed to leave ourselves, to leave our lives and decisions in the hands of other people. As young as being kids in school, everybody's making decisions for us. And we're just not comfortable just making decisions for ourselves. We're not comfortable with trusting our intuition. And so the energy of self-doubt is such a low vibratory state of being that we really want to get a handle on, because you have to understand, like, this is not your original self. And what I mean by that is, as children, when we came here into this world, we're so incredibly pure, so incredibly present and playful and confident. But external influences, as you know, especially if they were not positive, will be the reason why we shut those parts of ourselves down. And your mission here in life is to rediscover those parts, those hidden parts, those parts that have been shut down, so that you can begin to find out who you truly are and begin to do the thing called here to do. So as you know, self-doubt has many consequences. It can make you feel anxious. It can make you feel depressed. You might avoid taking risks or trying new things because you don't think you'll succeed. It prevents you from reaching your fullest potential in almost all areas of your life. Or you find yourself just playing it safe, doing the thing that you know how to do really well because it's incredibly comfortable. Because if you did anything outside of that, then it's going to show you something different about yourself that you may not be ready to face, you may not want to see, you may not like to see. So playing it safe reinforces the narrative of, like, I know how to do this thing, and that's where I get my source of confidence from. And we don't want to do that. Playing safe is just boring, okay? And you may find yourself experiencing self-doubt when things don't go according to plan. When you feel like you failed at something really important in your life, maybe something that you have been planning for so long that just didn't turn out as you expected. And really, that's just life. We can plan as much as we want, but at the end of the day, whatever it is that we need to learn and gain and evolve will show itself to us, and we just have to adjust and be flexible. But usually when things don't go according to plan, you might find yourself just blaming yourself. You focus on what's wrong with the situation itself versus what can I learn. So then you find yourself in a downward spiral where those negative thoughts or those distortions begin to take over. And as they take over, they begin to lead your life and lead you in ways that separate you from yourself, separate you from the relationships that you'd love to have, and the desired life that you'd love to create. But have no fear. There are so many different ways that you can overcome self-doubt. And once you do, there really is no limit of who you can be, of the things that you can experience once you just begin to face those things that you need to face. I've been there, and it is possible. So here's the first place to begin. Understand the source of your self-doubt. It seems like, okay, well, that makes sense. But I mean, really go deep. You can't overcome something if you don't know where it came from in the first place. Because if you knew where it came from, you can plug that hole in before it leaks, because it's already leaking, but it's not too late. It's never too late to make powerful changes in your life. And self-doubt is often caused by a lack of confidence, and it can make you feel like you don't belong or you're not good enough. So, recognizing the signs of self doubt and developing self awareness will help you overcome some of these feelings and lead you to greater fulfillment in your life. So, there are two questions that you can ask yourself. And I love self reflective questions. There's 125 self reflection questions that you can begin, that's broken down into like your past, present, future, relationships, goals, all of these different areas of your life that you can do for free that I provide. It's my gift to you so that you just begin to think a bit deeper and think differently about your life. So the first question that you can ask to help you sort of work through some of these self-doubts is, when I'm feeling self-doubt, these are the top 3 thoughts that come up. These are the top 3 feelings that I feel. Remember, go underneath and then go underneath the underneath, because the surface level stuff is not going to help you to change. If you continue to loop over the same things, it's because you just haven't gone deep enough. So once you get to the first layer, ask yourself, what else? What else? What else? And just keep going until it, you'll feel it. You'll feel the struck of the chord and you'll feel the release. The next question to ask yourself is, when did I first hear this thought, this belief system? When did this thought or belief system become true to me? When did I first adopt it? In other words, this is important because you want to know who said it first. We often think like we developed some of these things ourselves, and no, we didn't. I bet it wasn't you. You got to trace it back to most likely your childhood, young adulthood, and even early adulthood, right? In our 20s and mid 20s and late 20s, where some things might have been said to us that we just kind of hooked on and we just haven't let go. And it just became the centerpiece of our lives. This is why I encourage you to take my class, a crash course to inner child healing, because it'll help you understand the elements of a wounded child. It'll help you how to reparent parts of yourself so that you can actually just begin to move forward. Here's the thing. A long time ago, someone said a thing and you believed it. From there, you then created stories about it and you built your entire life around this false and distorted belief until it turned into a full-blown reality for you. So get to the source of the feeling, get to the source of the words, and get to the source of when in time this was prevalent for you. So always address the source. If you're still with me, good. Hang on towards the end, because this is all going to come full circle. Now that you know the source, I'm about to teach you the strategy that I taught my students. So you know the source, you know the words, you know the feelings, and now you must challenge yourself. Literally, we sometimes have this thought and we just keep having the thought. We never question the thought. We don't even say, is this really true? So I want you to challenge your negative thoughts. Again, I don't believe in negative or positive. It's just a distortion. I just use the negative language because I know that's what most people are used to hearing. But you got to put yourself on trial. That's why I used to tell my kids, put your thoughts on trial. All right. And then you be the cross-examiner and you cross-examine your thoughts. When you find yourself doubting your abilities, just doubting yourself in general, ask yourself, is what I'm thinking true? Is it really true? And then pause. And when I say pause, don't just go to the next thought or the next answer, the next question. Pause, because you want to feel that resonance. If this isn't true, I want you to challenge the thought. And when you challenge a thought, replace it with something more positive or one that is more reflective of who you really are. And this is all about getting down to your core beliefs. I actually have a core belief meditation. It's also available as well. But the whole point of this is to identify the facts, because self-doubt doesn't like facts too much. It holds on tightly to the emotions. You also want to ask yourself, what evidence supports this thought that I'm having? What evidence refutes this thought? In other words, what contradicts the thought that you're having? For example, I had this client who was building a boutique hotel. She had bought the land, had investors, had the finances, but was not making a lot of progress towards the hotel. And as we got a bit deeper, she had some self-doubts. She just didn't feel like she was capable of building this hotel. She had no hotel experience, no hospitality experience. And she started to really feel bad about that. Let's take the emotion out of it. What is it that you're really concerned about? It's like, oh, I don't know how to run a hotel. Okay. You don't know how to run a hotel. Is it something that you can learn? I mean, no one is born running a hotel, right? So whatever it is that you want to do, you can insert anything that you want. You're not born with some of these skill sets. You have to actually learn. I was like, okay, well, grab a book, go to YouTube University. What is like the one or two things that you can learn about running a boutique hotel that will make you feel a little bit more confident in moving forward? Sometimes when we have like a skill gap or we feel like we doubt our skill sets, and the best thing to do is to learn that skill. And that eliminates the self doubt. What is it that I can teach myself that I can learn comfortably enough? You don't need to learn everything. Do not wait for 100% completion. But what is it that you can learn? What can you teach yourself so that you can comfortably move forward? And then she was like, oh, okay, I could do that. And that's what she did. So she enrolled herself in a course to begin learning about different ways to run a hotel and just started off small because you can get really overwhelmed, especially with the goals and things that you want to do for yourself. You can get really overwhelmed, so just focus on like, what's the next best thing for me to learn? Well, the first best thing for me to learn. If I need to learn one thing, what is that one thing that I need to learn? Because confidence doesn't come before the skill set. Confidence comes after practice, after just showing up. So it's just one of the examples that you can do because sometimes when we doubt ourselves, we just need to learn something. And once we learn it, we're like, totally fine. I've had clients say, well, so and so doesn't really like me, doesn't want to hear what I have to say. And I say, okay, first of all, I always ask, did that person say it to you directly? Because we make up a lot of stories, right? We make up so many stories in our head based on assumptions and our own belief systems about ourselves. And then we put it on other people and we start just creating a whole situation that never did exist. So there are three questions you can ask when you just begin assuming things that you don't know that are quote unquote facts. First question is, how do you know this to be true? Someone say that to you? If so, does their opinion really matter? Is it the holy grail? Like, are they God? Okay. The second question to ask is, whoever said it, how's their life? Granted, we don't know, like I said, what silent battles people are going through, and we know nothing about people's personal lives. We just know what they tell us, right? So if someone is giving you a piece of advice or they're saying something about you, how is their life really going? Granted, everyone is here for a specific reason. So it's really very difficult to compare your life with somebody else, especially when no two lives are the same and no two missions are the same, right? So try not to allow your assumptions to get the best of you. And if you're around a group of people who constantly, and it could be a partner too, makes you feel self-doubt, it's time to overhaul that whole friend. It's time to overhaul that whole relationship, confront that relationship, or make plans to exit that relationship, especially if that person is not willing to change that. But what I really want you to understand is like how you feel on the inside about yourself is going to be a direct reflection of your outer world. So how you treat yourself will translate on how others treat you and see you. I think it was Maya Angelou that said, like, teach people how to treat you and then everything else will shift. Even your parents, anyway, I can go down the rabbit hole of all of this. And this is a short video, so let's get to it. All right. So this is the third and final strategy on overcoming self-doubt that I really want you to focus on because we don't focus on enough about this. We do not focus enough about this, and this matters. The last thing I want you to do is focus on your strengths. One thing I tell my clients to do is to create a brag book. This is something I got from a former coach of mine. It's easy to focus on all the things that didn't go well. It's easy to focus on all the things that you didn't do, but somewhere in there are lots of things that did go well. There are lots of things that you actually did. Often there is a habit that most people tend to only point out the big things or the negative things, but also the little things really, truly matter. Don't underestimate the power of the small things in our lives, the small accomplishments. There's a lot that is hidden or that you have forgotten about because of the fact that your distorted lens that you've created over the years has taken front and center of your life. So we need to transmute all of that out of the way so that we can make room for a powerful way for you to begin to look at yourself. So you can make room for thoughts and feelings that are going to support you along this journey. So what are your strengths? There's something that is unique and special about you. And if you're not sure what those qualities are, then get curious, start rediscovering yourself. Have fun with rediscovering those parts of yourself that you have not connected to in a long time. Because the more that you do that, it will begin to diminish those self-doubts. So here's some questions to ask yourself. I always got questions for y'all. These are 3 questions that you could ask for yourself is, what do people say that I do really well? Maybe better than anyone else. My cousin is an amazing cook, amazing chef, and she still struggles with accepting that, like, that's her greatness. I know I can't cook like that. Ain't nobody telling me, Fran, you cook so good, girl. Ain't nobody saying that. Maybe once in a while, I'll say, Carol, you can cook some rice. And that I know how to do. But no one's telling me that. I don't hear that. So what are people telling you that you do really well that you may not even notice? Another question to ask yourself is, what do people seem to ask me to do more than I realize? One thing, and I'll use my cousin example because it's just really clear cut. People are always asking my cousin to cook, to make food, to make a cake. She's always being asked to do that, or even plan a party or plan. She's so creative and making like baby baskets, for baby showers. What are people asking you to do? People usually ask me to write something, to talk about something, about travel. Those are the questions that I get asked a lot. The last thing is, what do people say about you, your personality? That could help you find your strengths. People will say to me that I'm a great listener. I'm like, really? Because sometimes, no, I'm kidding. People will say to me that I am fun to be around. I have a great sense of humor, right? We can forget these wonderful parts of ourselves because we're drowning in self-doubt. We're drowning in all these distortions that we can't even tap into the things that are already there. And the more that you bring them to the surface, the more you can lean into them more. You have a really great sense of humor, lean into that more, right? The goal is to really create more of the things that feel good versus spending time on the things that are low vibratory, that are just like, they just don't feel good. And I'm not talking about bypassing everything. We still need to face a lot of things. We still need to process things, but we're not here to just remain in suffering for the rest of our lives. We're here to transmute our suffering so that we can evolve, so that we can grow, and so that we can live out the best version of ourselves. So when you do your brag book, you will find the strengths as you sort of write the things down that you did. Oh, I put some workshop together. I didn't know I did that a long time ago. I downplayed it, but that was actually a big deal. Right? So maybe you're good at putting workshops together. You're good at bringing people together. Start looking at some of the strengths within the brag book, because some of the things that you accomplished over time must have required some sort of courage. They must have required some sort of perseverance, consistency, persistence to actually bring those things into light. So let's not downplay those things. If you struggle with creating a brag book and focusing on your strengths, that's okay. Healing requires telling yourself the truth. And from that place of truth is where you can finally heal with pure authenticity. So let's recap. Self-doubt might feel lonely, but remember, everybody's going through it. Okay. But you can overcome self-doubt by doing 3 things. Understand the source of your self-doubt. Where does it come from? Challenge your distorted thoughts about yourself by asking, where's the evidence? Because self-doubt needs facts. And for this moment, you want to just remove any emotions. And for this moment, while you are challenging those thoughts, just push the emotions to the side for a second and begin to look at those thoughts through a logical lens. And then ask yourself, is this really true? Is what I'm saying like facts? Or are your feelings clouding your perception of yourself? And then lastly, focus on your strengths. We all have them. None of you were created without strengths, gifts, talents. You just need to go on a beautiful journey of self-discovery by just getting curious, having fun, finding more about who you are. Okay, that's all I got for the Monday message. Don't forget, you can grab 125 life-changing self-reflection questions that can change your life. I left the link in the description below. And all I ask is that you just share the video, like, comment, let me know which part resonated with you the most and what you're going to be doing to begin to tackle, to manage your self-doubts. Even share what is one self-doubt you typically have. Let's see if we can, support each other in this process. And I will see you on the other side of wholeness.